Hello everybody, I've got a special treat for you today. I'm going to show you what a floor looks like in a house that's more than 100 years old. So if you're buying a house and you can't quite see under there because there's no access, well, today's your lucky day because you'll see that there's full access to this floor. 100-year-old floor exposed. Okay, so if you've been following my other videos recently, you've seen me in here stripping this floor. So I have it 100% stripped, and I just want to show you what shape it's in. Okay, now the only part of the floor that I have not stripped is this part right here, because this is a bearing wall. So if I cut out the floor right there, then it's going to collapse the ceiling. It's not a bearing wall for the roof load, but my ceiling joists do bear on that. Okay, so what I'll do, you couldn't see this anyway, but I'm going to go under the floor and I'm going to put blocking in between there so it holds it up. And then when I bring my floor over, when I sister this floor, which means when I sister framing members to the existing framing members, they'll be higher, and I'll leave that old floor on there and I'll just shim under it. Okay, so but let's get back to the condition of this old floor. Okay, now you can see from there clear to there, that's like 14 feet. Now, let me tell you, I've been walking on these joists and it's just like a trampoline, because you're not supposed to span that far on a 2x6 joist. It's going to make a spongy floor, and that's not good. If you want to put tile on your floor, or if you want to try to strengthen it, it's just going to crack your tile. So that's why I'm in here reframing this floor. Okay, so let me show you along the foundation kind of what it looks like. This right there, there's just a lot of cobwebs and stuff. We've been in there and we've checked, and it's not really moldy. There was an old like wasp nest or whatever right there. Okay, so just know that under your floor that you can't see in the house that you bought, you fell in love with it, it's 100 years old, it's just dusty and spiders and all kind of insects. Just know that. Okay, now another thing, I didn't even see this when I took the job, but this right here, does anybody see anything wrong with this picture? Look at the foundation. That's just blocks. Those are just dry stacked on there. They're just dry, literally dry stacked on a board in the dirt. Okay, whoever did this never took the time to cement their blocks together. Okay, I mean, it's working, you know what I mean, but it's just like just stupid stuff like this. 100 years old. They didn't really have, maybe they have inspections back then, but not here in these rural parts of America. Okay, so if you're like in a rural farm country, just know that your house 100 years ago didn't get inspected, and just stupid crap like that. Just be prepared for stupid crap like that. Okay, because a new house nowadays that has been inspected, that would never fly. They would fail inspection, and the contractor would be run out of town with good reason. Okay, so over here, this is where there was a huge disaster, and you're seeing this foundation right here. I mean, it is kind of, cobbled together. There is a little bit of grout holding those blocks together, but there's some blocks that there's no grout there. It's like, how is that held together? You know what I mean? And so this side of the house is the north side, and it had a whole bunch of dry rot, just exposure over the years. Water infiltrated in there, and so that was completely dry rotted out. And so along this whole wall we've taken and we replaced it. Okay, so if you have an old floor, there could be a possibility that a lot of your framing members have been deteriorated and are going to have to be completely replaced. Okay, now what we're trying to do right here is we beefed up this little girder beam, and we're going to come back later and pour concrete in there and hold these up. The owner kind of put some blocking under there because that was his solution, but he really couldn't work under there because the floor wasn't exposed. There was no room. I mean, he was down on his belly and he just got sick of it. And then he's like, all right, I'm done. You do it, you fix it. So I said, okay, no problem, but we're stripping your entire floor because I have no access under there. So in these older houses, you might not even have the code minimum of 18 inches in your crawl space. So if you're not prepared to strip your floor off, then there's really not a good way to fix it, okay? And this video is not showing the floor fixed. This is just the horror story right here, okay? This is kind of the before shot, right? Later, it's going to take me several weeks to get this reframed, but if you've seen on my channel, my other floor videos, then you'll see how I fix them up, okay? Now, a lot of you are going to be super concerned that there's no vapor barrier under there. You're correct, there's no vapor barrier. There should be a vapor barrier. You're going to say there's no insulation in the foundation. You're correct, there's no insulation along the foundation. Look at these water pipes. See how easy that could freeze? Somebody had kind of, at one point, tried to insulate that or whatever, but it's just, I mean, I'm just showing you what to expect in an old house. And, there's just, it's just what to look for in an old house. So if you think you're saving, a couple $1,000s by buying an old fixer-upper, well, you're going to be into it way more than that, than what you would have bought for a new one if you're trying to fix it up, okay? So, and then there's stuff like, these little accesses down to the crawl space. That's not code. It's just kind of stupid, but I don't have a good way to reframe it where, I can reframe the hell out of it, but I don't have a good way to justify it with the owner how much it's going to cost, and he's not going to want to put a exterior access with a roof on, okay? So I'm just saying, like, you're kind of locked into how they did it before unless you want to drop thousands and thousands of dollars. And at what point does it become cost prohibitive where it's not even worth doing all this work to make it right, okay? So let's go over here and look at this north side wall that I was telling you about. And we have, see this is the framing down here, the mud sill and the rim joist. It was all completely dry rotted out. So we took it out 10 feet at a time, and I do not know how, but the house didn't fall down, okay? Don't try this at home. Like I say, I know how gravity works, but I do not know how this wall didn't fall down when we had an entire 10-foot chunk from there all the way to there. We had it taken out, and so the worst thing that was going to happen was the wall was going to fall 6 inches. I didn't want that to happen, but as I was tearing it out, it was like everything here is just loose and it's just floating. The house hasn't fell down in 100 years. It's probably can last another day without falling over. So we got that in. We're going to come back and put new sheeting on this wall and tie everything together, but this is the extent we had to go to. And I told the owner we're going to have to look at this, what's behind this wall, because you can see in these studs right here, there's some of these studs are dry rotted. So how far up does that dry rot go? So we're probably gonna end up stripping this whole wall and seeing what's going on. So here's a huge problem out there for any of you that are in construction. This is bad because you're not supposed to have your framing inside of your foundation like that. Your framing is supposed to overhang the foundation so that when the water hits the wall, it goes off and it drips down. It doesn't go, if you have it like this, what's going to happen is all the water, it's going under your framing, okay? And that's what had happened over the years. If you see this lip on this foundation, the water just sits there and it works its way back into the floor, onto the framing, and that's what dry rotted everything out. So how to fix that? Well, of course, we come and we took out all the old rotten framing, and then we grouted a few sections so we can anchor the framing to the foundation, because that's another thing. None of this framing was anchored. There was no nails or anything into the foundation. It was just literally sitting on the foundation. So we're going to be able to anchor now that we've grouted some of these blocks in. And how you fix this little situation is you get a piece of flashing that goes on the wall, and it goes over the foundation and down. So any water that sits there, it can't get through the flashing. It's forced to fall off, okay? So you know, if you can't see your foundation, like somebody had stuccoed over this foundation, if you can't see your foundation, then you know that somebody's probably trying to hide some major problems, okay? So just know what to expect when you're getting into an old house. You know, it might be tempting with the cost, a little bit cheaper than what a new house would be, but do you really want to dedicate your life to fixing up an old house? I mean, for me, that's fine. That's my hobby. That's my business. That's how I make my money. But is that really how you want to spend every single Saturday for the next 10 years of your life? Okay, or would you rather just pay the extra money on the mortgage? Okay, so, I mean, I hope this has kind of been an informative little run through for you. I made the owner well aware of everything I could before we even started. Well, he's well aware of all the risks and everything. He's a really savvy guy. This is going to work out for him. He's going to end up making money on this in the long run. But for you, if you're not a savvy real estate investor, then you could get bit and it could hurt. So anyway, keep watching my channel. Valuable content here, and share your experiences with me. And so until the next time, goodbye.